You good to go, Big Josh boy?
Hell yeah. What is this? Thanks for participating. Fuck off.
Oh my god.
What?
Thanks for participating.
Sorry, I got distracted. What are we doing here? Why am I here today?
I don't even know at this point. Like, it's a little weird. Things
bit.
are looking weird. I'm actually excited for this week's. I'm always excited for the podcast, but I'm excited for this week's podcast because I feel like we can actually. I don't know, to talk about these indie showcases because I feel like they're a bit weird. Like,
I'm interested to see your opinion on this because I feel like I'm going to be on the positive and you'll be on the negative side.
Really? Okay. It'll be all right. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
I mean, I have my gripes. I
only have one real gripe, and I guess it might actually have been changed in a sense in the actual showcase versus me just catching up on the like highlights. But for the most part, it's a little bit weird. So
all right, we'll get into it.
I don't really have any news story. I don't got any weird stories this week for the most
part.
What?
Actually, no weird story. Come on. What the people need this. This is what we have to like, get them a little hyped up and ready for things. We can't just jump into games. What do we think we are? A podcast about video games? Like,
nah.
Get your shit together, Vaughn. All right? Where's my fucking story? Tell me how your day was, damn it.
Dude, my tree continues to collapse on itself. Like I had the one branch, 2 days later another branch. It's just came down.
The tree that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's an absolute garbage tree. Like I fucking hate it. I'm kind of sick of it.
Did you piss on that guy that keeps coming back yet?
I thought about it.
Oh wait, you're supposed to pee on the mailbox, not him.
Yeah, just a little bit of context to that scenario. We've been talking about these.
Let's just leave it at that. Why not?
Yeah, just gonna pee on this guy. Like he's gonna come by, he's gonna try to pick up the mail, and I'm just gonna whip out my tiny penis and pee on him. Like it's totally fine. It'll be cool. Nobody's gonna feel uncomfortable in that scenario. If anything, the cops show up, I'll be like, he is the one breaking the law. He is sorting through my mail. I was just protecting it like the United States Constitution allows me to. I have the right to bear phallic symbols, That's absolutely in the Constitution.
It's true.
1,000,000%. It's like I think it's like the Fourth Amendment or something like that. It's just like it's really like tucked in there. There's all that talk about bearing arms, which everybody's like, is that bear arms or is that bear arms? Like guns or weird fucking like bear coats. Turns out Thomas Jefferson, real big fan of bear coats. Huge fan. Did you know that Thomas Jefferson actually had a bear?
No, that's awesome. Why would you have a bear?
I'm fairly certain that this is like a weird story, but I believe it was who is it? Lewis and Clark, when they came back from mapping the what is it? Was it the Northwest Passage? I don't think it was. It was wherever they went. I honestly, this is how fucking lackluster American education is that I don't even fucking know. But after they came back, if I remember correctly, there is a story about how they brought back a bear cub for Thomas Jefferson, which I just think is the weirdest thing. I don't know. It's weird. I've also heard just in a random, this is kind of like random stories about history, but I've also heard that Thomas Jefferson was a ginger, and I feel really cool about that. I'm going to be honest. I feel like, that hits me at home. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. And apparently it's been like overwritten to be like, nah, he was a blonde boy. And I'm like,
he did have natural red hair. Look at that.
He got fucking his ginger ass sitting up here. Everybody wondered why the country has gone downhill. It's because you let gingers in office, bro. Like everyone shitting on Donald Trump. You know why he sucks? Because he's got the ginger beard. Like he's got the shitty ginger hair, and I can say that as a pumpkin boy. Like I'm the one who can say that. Nobody, Big Josh boy, you shut your mouth. You can't say it. You're a beautiful boy. I'm a pumpkin boy. I could say it.
I don't think those words would ever come out of my mouth. Not because I can't
boy?
say it. But just in general, most of the words you just said probably would not come out of my mouth.
Do you ever just start talking and you have literally no idea where you're going?
I feel like that's every episode for you.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's fair.
That's a lot of how this podcast is for me. I mean, I just start talking and here we are.
Like, we'll get there.
I don't do any. We talked about this before. We don't do anything like planning for this show. We put a list of things that we'll probably talk about, and then we just go.
You just ramble a bit. I feel like that's all good podcasts. You just ramble. It's all it's rambling for 40 minutes until we eventually talk about a news story. Like that's how podcasts are meant to be. Okay?
I mean, why else would you do anything, right? That's what the people want. Is they just want incoherent, just rambling and garbage.
Yeah, about pumpkin boys. Yeah.
And that's 100%. What we offer.
Everyone likes pumpkin spice lattes. You know, let's get some pumpkin boys. Like, let's get. Where are my pumpkin pounders? Okay, like Phil wants to see these cheeks, and I get it, bro. I got a fat donk, but like, you don't appreciate me because I'm a ginger. You appreciate me because I'm a thick boy, and I'm like, I'm a little bit hurt by that. You know, I got this sweet beard. You know that I've got no morals because I have no soul. Like, let's go, dude. Let's go. You're gonna get kissed one day. Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you two awesome indie game news stories. It's a blurb of a shitload of indie game news stories, actually. Before, of course, hopping into News Cram, God bless the crowd, answering your listener questions, or just talking about what you want us to talk about. And that's it. There's not a
and then the show ends, and then you'll watch it next week.
Then there's like the little outro bit, and it's just like, you know, that's Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But whatever,
yeah, I was like, wait. Are we putting that at the end of our episodes? I think we're going to get sued. We can't do that.
Let's see what happens, you know? Like, it's like, hey, our shit's not monetized. Let's see where it goes. That's like, true. You're going to come after me? I'm not making no money on this. What's up, dude? I'm like, I'm going to declare my house sovereign territory. The United States government can eat my dick. You can't, nothing.
I don't know. Once again, those words would not come out of my mouth.
You live in Florida, bro. Like, if it was to come out of anybody's mouth, you would expect Florida to be the ones that's like, the United States government could suck my dick. I'm sick of this.
There are no rules when you're in Florida.
Yeah, it's complete anarchy from what I've heard. The second you cross the border, get attacked by alligators every time.
Every time.
Yeah, the second they you're on an airplane, teleport onto your airplane. There's alligators there. Now everyone thinks snakes on a plane was fiction. It's not. That's real. The only thing that they changed, because it's based on true events, obviously, like I just said, was that they crossed the Florida border.
And now you know. The more you know.
100% truthful.
Yep. Yeah. Knowledge is power. What are we talking about? Where are we in this intro at this point? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm starting to think I'm somewhat like lethargic. That I just...
Have we introduced ourselves yet?
Nah, not even a little bit. But of course, before we do any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average Josh boys. How you doing today, big Josh boy?
I'm doing well. This is we're off to a weird kick, but this is gonna be a good episode, or maybe it'll be terrible. Who fucking knows? Toss up.
I'm feeling weird. You know, like it feels a little bit foggy. I don't know. Maybe I got roofied and just don't know about it. Maybe halfway through the podcast, I'm just, you know what I mean?
I don't know how. That would be such a weird, like, I'd have no way of helping you. I only.
Vaughn?
That would be the rest of the episode of me just being like, all right, I guess I'll continue. Like, I don't, like, do I keep going for the sake of the show?
See, here's the thing. I am the person who said if I die on camera, you have to continue that shit. Yeah, you have to make sure it goes up. So if I pass out on camera due to health reasons, being poisoned and or drugged, I think you gotta keep going.
Right.
I feel like really good point of this is that you've got to act like I'm saying things. You know, you'll be like, "How do you feel about the Nintendo Indie Direct, Vaughn?" And then you'll be like, "I don't know." You'll be like, you have a hat on, and then you take it off, and you're like, oh man, I feel like it's really good and everything. You'd be like that. Yes, like, exactly.
Indie pod showcases, I don't like them anymore. And I'd be like,
100%.
Well, actually, Vaughn, I think that
you'll be like that episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where there's like the one guy who keeps changing his hats and acting like he's his own brother. He's like, oh, at the fish shop? No, that's my brother, Ming. And you're just like, it's fucking you, bro. Stop messing with me.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Please.
You
pass
almost
out.
wish I pass out now.
Like, please, like, let's. We got to do the bit. Get out of here.
Yeah, you got to commit to that bit. I actually roofie myself just to fucking do this. It's like, community, how do I get roofies? Alexa, how do I buy roofalin? Tell me.
Someone
I don't even
there,
have an Amazon
someone out there is going to be listening, and it's going to hear that.
I legitimately forgot about that, honestly. That it is actually possible that I might have just fucked somebody, but whatever, dude, whatever. We're past the point of no return. Let's talk about housekeeping. This week we do have a developer interview going live on the 18th of August. This with Christian Hauser. How do I say that?
I think it was Hoser. Maybe.
Well, I just fucked it up anyway, so whatever. Of Crafting Legends, these are the developers of Death Trash. Of course, Death Trash currently in early access over on Steam. I'm part of the Death Trash Discord server, and they said that just from the purchases of within their early access, they have recouped their development costs, which I think is super cool. Granted, they're still developing the game, so I imagine costs accrue over time, but that is pretty amazing. I very much enjoy that. I'm glad it's going well.
I've been watching it, and it's been doing really well. I'm waiting because I have some, like, someone's getting me like a Steam gift card, but once I have that gift card money, I'm instantly going to buy it. I don't think I'm going to play it because I want to wait until it's fully done, but I want to just buy it to support them because we've talked about it a couple episodes back when I played the demo. I fell in love with that game, and I can't wait to play more of it.
All right. So once again, that is Christian Hooser of Crafting Legends. Motherfucker, dude.
Good try.
I think I might be having a stroke. The developers of Death Trash, that one is going live on the 18th of August, so please check it out. Listen in. I hate that you're such a cute boy. It bothers me. I gotta be honest.
What you gonna do, baby?
So many dirty things, you know what I mean?
Gross.
So also please head over to Teespring to check out our indie pod stuff. We currently have cheap t-shirts, cheap stickers, and if you are a patron, I believe at the $3 or higher or the $5 tier, I'm not necessarily, it might be the $5 tier, you do get a 20% off coupon for our stuff over there, so you can get things a little bit cheaper. It's pretty sweet. Head over to YouTube where you can watch these episodes on video as well as check out our clips. I very much enjoyed editing that clip this week. I thought it was pretty funny. Leave us reviews on any source in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes will help us out a lot with the algorithm, from what I understand, help us reach a larger audience and spread the word about indie games. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. Anybody who gives us any amount of money, you are absolutely fantastic and amazing. But we made a commitment, so we got to thank the $3 tier or higher. Ethan, a gamer for fun. John. Just John. We'll see Mixamatosis, A.K. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Richard, the one man of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, just Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada.
Oh man, I can't believe Active Quest is gone. So strange.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. I mean, lots of podcasts are falling off. I should say that I have officially gone on a hiatus for Go Beyond. So I'm committing all of my energy toward IndiePod as well as some other projects. So I'm...
And as you can see, IndiePod's just getting better and better. We came so prepared today.
That is great. You make good points. You make very good points. And I do have to say, Chris, if you're listening to this, I know you messaged me about your Patreon stuff. We will continue to read yours we will continue to read the Patreon names the way we do until the subscription stuff actually goes inactive. So technically, since you pay for a month, you'll get all 4 episodes for the month. So just to make it abundantly clear for everybody, when you first hop in, since you will be active, at the $3 tier or higher, we'll make sure we say your name on the show. But once it goes inactive, you have until the end of that month when it tries to charge you again until we won't say your name anymore. So just to make that more clear, I guess, at least the way that I currently do it, I try to just read the active subscriptions over on Patreon, make it a bit easier. But Big Josh Boy, we've been playing massively different games in an interesting way. So please tell me about Curse of the Dead Gods by Passtech Games. How are you liking it? Because we have had people in our Discord asking us to play this game for, I swear, a fucking year. It's been a year.
I mean, it's been out for a while anyway.
And now it finally came to Game Pass PC, so we can play it easily. We've always been able to play it, but now it's easier.
We definitely have. But Game Pass just makes it so easy to pick something up and try it out. Because Curse of the Dead Gods is a game that fits into this category of something that I could like, but also could hate. Because Curse of the Dead Gods is a roguelike where the combat very much feels what you would attribute to a Souls-like game. So it has very weighted, clunky's not the right word, but your actions are much more strategic. They have to be much more strategic because every little choice matters in if you're dodging or if you're using a certain attack, you're using stamina. And you have to then, preface the fact that if you're attacking a lot, you are opening yourself to get hit because then you don't have stamina to dodge. I don't like this form of combat just because generally I want it to be extremely fast paced. I want it to be super snappy. I will compare this to Hades because these dropped at Game Pass at the same time now, Curse of the Dead Gods and Hades. And what I will say, I'm about to cough. What I will say, I know that was weird, but
you're actually, there was nothing else I was going to say. It was just that I was about to cough. I'm done talking about this game.
I hope you guys liked my review. What I will say about this game is if you are in the bucket of people who have Game Pass or just in the people who are like, should I get Curse of the Dead God or Hades? Get Hades. I love this game. I won't say I love this, but I really do enjoy Curse of the Dead Gods. Yeah. Where it's a lot more than I thought I would because the combat very much goes against a lot of the types of games that I'm into. But I do think they have a lot of unique mechanics. I love the curse system in this game, which I'll explain in a second. But it just doesn't have that same snappy, just the craziness and the fast paced action that Hades does when it comes to your character movement. Curse of the Dead God, once again, everything is very you have to really think about your actions. It's very methodical in that you're either dodge rolling or you're parrying, and I suck at parrying no matter what game it is. It's why I like games where you do the fast pace, just dashing through something, because I'd rather just be attack, dodge, attack, dodge. That's what I want to look for. I hate parrying. I hate timing, that kind of crap. I'm I will time the dodge rolls away, but I don't want to fuck with parrying. So I'm really
bad at parrying. I don't fuck with it. That's actually why, from somebody who loves to play From Software games, I don't think I'll ever play Sekiro because it forces you to parry constantly. Right. That's the biggest gameplay mechanic in that game. So I don't think I'll ever play it.
But at the same time, there's a lot of ways that you can get around this with the different mechanics as far as weapons that you have in the game. So you have a dodge roll, a parry, and then you have 3 different attacks depending on what items that you pick up. You have one for your main hand, your secondary hand, and then you have a double, dual hand weapon, which is weird because why would you have another weapon if you already have 2 weapons that your hands are holding? It doesn't matter. Anyway, the point is it basically equates to a sword, a shield, or a dagger, throwing knives, and a whip as your 2, your main hand and your offhand. And then you have a secondary one, which is usually either a bow or a grenade that you throw.
Oh, cool.
And so it's cool because you can charge each of those attacks to do something special, or like a better, like more AoE based attack, or just a stronger attack, or you could just hit them individually and do like a combo. You can mix up pressing, 2 attacks of the sword and then one with, if you have like a pistol as your offhand, you'll like attack the sword twice and then be like, bam, and it'll do like a good finisher move. So it's pretty cool from a combo system. And like, I think they did combat really well. Like it does feel very, just very well designed from the standpoint of like this Souls-like aspect of having it very well. I'm like fucking all over the place right here. It's well designed in the fact that the move set that you have, a lot of the times when I fucked up, I felt like, yeah, that was me. Right? Like this isn't a game where you're like, this seems unfair. Like there are parts and there are enemies that seem like a little unfair at first, but it's really just learning it and understanding to be more thoughtful about how you approach attacking someone, or how you approach saving your stamina to dodge away or to parry or whatever it might be. So I did enjoy that. And I really
feel like that's one of the best things about having a stamina system,
yeah,
is that it kind of like it forces you to be more conservative with your gameplay and forces you to really think things out, to the point where like if you get hit often enough, it's your own fault.
Right.
Like you did it to yourself.
Yeah.
You could have saved enough stamina to dodge. You could have saved enough to parry or do whatever, but instead used it all to attack, so you get fucked. Like I very much enjoy that. It's a lot of cause and effect, and I feel like it actually gives you a consequence for your actions.
Yeah. So this is one of the roguelikes that I think that you should actually try out, Vaughn. I think you'll enjoy this.
That's what I've been told. Yeah.
Yeah. And from playing it, this feels very much more a you game than a me game, even though I did enjoy it. But I think the reason why is because it does introductions and like ramping you up really well. So very similar to roguelikes, when you beat one of the bosses, then you have to, like, the game ends and you get to then choose another boss. Which if you think of something like Isaac or other roguelites, usually you get to a certain point and the game will be like, you beat the game, but you really didn't. But it just unlocks another level for you to then go into and beat. So Curse of the Dead Gods does this, but it does it in a really good way, where it has these like parts of the temple that are structured where it's like these paths that you can take, where you choose to either fight one side of these gods. It's like the cougar, jaguar, or something. It's all based on the attributes that you have, which is either... I don't know, it's red, green, and blue, which basically equates to, I think it was courage, dexterity, and something, perception, something.
So it's similar to like West of Dead.
Yeah, so it's basically the red is courage, which attributes to your health, dexterity, the blue attributes to your damage, and green is treasure find. So do you find relics and other little like power-ups that will make you stronger? And it's really cool because as you're picking things up, you have the ability to either take that new weapon or take that new relic that gives you a bonus to your stats, or to get rid of it to give you extra gold or less corruption or more health back. So there's a lot of that management when it comes to a roguelike. What it does well is saying you have to make these choices to see if you can get to the end of the run. But going back to the good part about easing you into the gameplay, these 3 paths that you can take all eventually lead to a final boss. But each time you beat it, there's like these steps of the pyramid that you have to get to. So you fight this first side, like the left side path, and you fight one boss, and then it's like, that's it, you did it, you got through. And it's like, cool, I beat it. And it's like, oh, but also there's like 3 other stages that you have to do. So then you fight the first row of all the 3 bosses, and then it's like, okay, now you've unlocked the next row. And so now you can go through the path, and you have the left, the middle, the right path of bosses that you could take on, meaning starting a run. And then from that point, you have to finish that first boss that you already had killed and all of the levels that you would have to do to get to him. And then you have a second set of that. So you have a totally different area. And each time they have paths that are similar to Slay the Spire, where you have to choose, like you have these randomly generated, just like, here's a room of gold, here's to get a new weapon, here's to do XYZ. And you have to look at this path and decide like, okay, where do I want to go to maximize my run to make sure that I'm the best that I can be to fight these bosses. So it's got a lot in it. I think it's really cool. My favorite part about it is honestly the curses, which I haven't even talked about yet, but it goes into corruption. every time you open a door and you go to another room, you get a certain amount of corruption added to your bucket. And there's 5 different little corruption things that you can get at any given time. And as you're getting more corruption, you fill up to, say, at the start of the game, you have only 100 that you can carry. Every time you hit 100 corruption, you then fill up this thing which curses you, basically. So it'll be a random generated curse that you get. Like there's some times where it'll say like, hey, you can't pick up gold anymore. Because there's things like greed kill, where every time you kill someone, you get money. And if you do it in rapid succession, you get more money. Well, they changed it now. And my curse was, hey, you don't get money anymore. You can't get that from killing people. But now instead, you get healed. And like it totally worked out because I was like, I was at a point in my run where I was like, I don't really need gold right now. I'm pretty strong. I just need to keep healing because I had low health. So it was like, it worked out for me. Other times you get shit where it's just like, things explode a lot now. Or like if you touch a chest and try to open like a treasure chest, now you just get cursed all the time. So you get more corruption. And there's at the end, there's a 5th one, a final curse that you can get, which will wildly change your run and really like negatively impact you. So you have to make sure to try and gain corruption to benefit you, but also keep it low enough where you're not constantly getting cursed. And so there's like certain bosses that are more damaging from a curse perspective or more damaging just from a health perspective. And so depending on which path you choose, you might have to spec a little bit differently because there's different abilities like power up things that you can choose to unlock based on at the end of each run. There's like an outside section that you can pick and choose different abilities to help you with whatever run. There's a lot that goes into this. I think it's really cool. I've only got to the 3rd tier. So I'm at that like end tier of bosses right before the final boss. But it's been pretty fun. I talked a lot about this game. There's a lot that goes into it. I think people who like that Souls-like combat and like roguelikes, this is the one for you. I think if you don't like roguelikes, but you like that Souls-like aspect, like the combat, they probably will be really into this. I think it's good. I think it's definitely good. The one caveat that I will say, though, is like for a person like me, if you had to choose between this and Hades, especially now that they just went live on Game Pass, I'd pick Hades.
Yeah. I mean, the nice part about Game Pass is you don't really have to choose. You can just download both and like switch between them at will. That's pretty nice. One of the things that I find coolest about Curse of the Dead Gods, and this is just tangential, like I've only seen a video of it. I haven't really checked it out, but is this like almost Aztec theme. I think it's really, really cool looking how you're talking about like these different bosses that are like a jaguar and stuff like that. I just find that really, really cool. It's something that Errol talked about way back when, was like exploring different types of mythology outside of like Greek and Norse mythology. And however, in a small way, this game may do it. I do think it's very cool that you can experience any part, even if it's the aesthetic of a different culture. I think that's very, very cool. And Aztec has always been something I find interesting ever since watching like fucking Road to El Dorado. Like I always have found this, like the way this stuff is depicted, very cool. With the exception of this dumpy ass looking main character. Can I put on a hat or something? Like, no. Bro, just shave your head if you're going bald. I'm sick of you.
You do nothing from a customized perspective with your character.
Damn it. You look stupid. I mean, I would shave my head if my wife would let me. She was high a couple weeks ago, tried to get her to shave my head. Almost did it. She was like seconds away from shaving my head. And then she was like, she realized, she got that brief moment of lucidity. And she was just like, ooh, I'm high right now. This is not a good decision to make right now. I was like, fuck. Damn
So close. Yeah. But you know that she was at the brink of it. So it could come back.
Yeah, now I just got to keep trying to get fucking haircuts. So hard to get a haircut right now. Try to go to get a hair. I guess here's a story that I could have said earlier. Try to go get a haircut yesterday. It was like on my check-in time, 9 minutes, estimated wait time. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I'll just drive over. It's like a 9-minute drive. No way a lot of people are going to show up. I get there, fucking filled with people. I look again, hour and 39 minutes. I was like, you fucking serious? I'm just trying to get a cut and you're doing this to me? This is horse shit. So, yeah, I'm trying to shave my head.
That is the true struggle. What are you going to do?
So for me, I mean, Curse of the Dead God sounds really, really cool. I'm going to have to hop into it. Depending on if I have, I guess, like, I want to ask you a question real quick. And this
No.
is something like we'll get a little bit more into. And I just want a brief yes or no. Do you like shadow drops? Like when a game is just announced and comes out. Or I guess like when a game, you don't lead up to the release date. Instead, it's just like, this game is out now. How do you feel about that?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? Okay, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the Nintendo showcase.
Because I think there's definitely a place and time for it, and it benefits certain people as opposed to who it definitely doesn't.
All right. Okay. So, speaking of shadow drops, I am playing Garden Story by Picogram. It's a game that I have been looking forward to for quite a long while. I played the demo when it was available, I believe year and a half ago. Played it a little bit. There were a few things I really, really enjoyed. There were a few things I didn't. And I'm glad to say that I am having fun. Granted, I've only played about 2 or 3 hours. I played it right before we recorded this because it was shadow dropped. I wasn't expecting it to come out, so I hadn't really allocated any time to it. Luckily right now, I'm just in limbo for games. So I was just like, you know what? Why not pick up Garden Story? Even though I wasn't expecting it to come out, it's $20. It's not an excessive amount. And I feel like it will probably this is going to get me to Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is going to get me to Eastward. Eastward is going to get me to New World. I'm feeling good. Okay. I've got my schedule.
Unless
how do you
something else shadow drops?
Dude, if something else gets shadow dropped,
This is the thing. Shadow drops are great when you're in a video game dry spell, but then when you got this packed schedule, this summer schedule, and you're ready to play, and then all of a sudden they're like, but what about all these games? You're like, fuck! What do I do?
So how do you do this? Do you schedule what games you're looking forward to based on release dates, or do you just play whatever is coming out at the time? You just play what comes to Game Pass? How do you do it?
No, I'm pretty bad with this kind of stuff. If I was in an actual position in a video game industry, or I was in some kind of website that wrote for stuff and had to really pay attention to this, I'd probably be a little bit better. Honestly, I have things that I'm excited for, and the minute I stop talking about it or directly looking at a trailer or some kind of ad for whatever game that's in the future, completely out of my brain. It is gone. It is gone. It's why when we have these questions that are what are you looking forward to? I'm like, I don't fucking know, because I don't think that far ahead. I think about it and I'm like, good, that's out of my brain now. What's currently available? And that's literally just how I work. I
honestly wish I worked that way. You act like that's a bad thing. I wish I worked that way because I was really looking forward to New World, and that got pushed a month, and I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. It was literally they had just pulled the rug out from under me, and I had fell in 2 stories down a staircase. I was like, I don't know what my life is anymore, even though I'm waiting for fucking Psychonauts and shit. There are games to play, but I was so single-mindedly focused on that one game that I fucked myself. Versus, I feel like if I was in your scenario, it would have been I didn't even know that game was coming out, so it doesn't matter. We just not out yet. That's cool. No, so back to Garden Story. I am having a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy the cutesy nature of the game. I enjoy these really, it seems subtle hints toward fucked up shit, and it sounds a little bit weird, but the game has this cutesy layer of everything, and it tries to seemingly cover up a lot of things, where they talk about how there was an abundance of guardians before, but now all these guardians have just kind of disappeared and they don't know where they're going. Maybe they just haven't been chosen, but it seems like the population has actually started to dwindle, and it almost seems, and I know this is kind of overdone, but it almost seems like they are actually in the midst of an apocalypse, and I find that very interesting, where it seems like these have you ever watched the movie Children of Men, where the big apocalyptic event in that is that the human race is sterile, nobody can have babies anymore? It's a very good movie. You should watch it. It's really cool.
Okay, I'll do that.
In this, it seems like it's that event where there aren't any new, I believe they called them, I forget what they called them, but basically there are 2 different types of creatures in this game. There are those that are I would say biological animals, and then there are fruit, and they're the fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And the fruits and vegetables are no longer being born, and they don't know why. And the animals, I've seen a couple, but they seem to be dwindling as well. You run into like Rana, who is, I believe their name is Rana, is a frog, and talks about how they wish more frogs would come to your village. But for the most part, it doesn't seem like more creatures are being born, and nobody knows why. And I very much enjoy that. I enjoy that little bit of a secret that I'm just like, I want to figure out what's going on. You, as Concord, this main character, you play a grape named Concord. You are appointed guardianship, which is like you are the guardian of this territory, which means that you just have to do a bunch of fucking miscellaneous fetch quests and shit to keep this town alive, which is really interesting. But like I said, there's like this layer over everything that seems to be cutesy that's hiding something much more sinister just below the surface, where there are these, like, they talk about weapons. They talk about like you have a sword that's like a toothpick and you're killing all these like rot enemies and stuff like that. Like and the older guardian has abandoned this place. Well, not really. They just moved on. They appointed Concord to be the new guardian, but they seemed old and dreary. Like it seems like this world is slowly coming to an end because they no longer have the hope of a new guardian. It's very, very interesting. I'm enjoying it a lot. The few issues that I still have with it are, it is, and I believe I said this initially, it's hard to direct yourself in combat. And I say that in kind of a weird way. So you have this vague stamina system. This is once again a thing that is actually kind of like has this cutesy layer of it where it's like the sun's energy is what gives you, in a sense, stamina, but you only have in the beginning of the game 2 swings of a sword or 1 swing and a dodge. And after you're done with that, you have to wait for it to come back. It's a little bit weird because I feel like it's just so limiting in the beginning of the game, but you can always increase that by getting different perks, which are also kind of a weird thing. I'm not far enough into the game to give you an in-depth analysis of like this weird perk system because I don't know how to unlock. I can unlock new perks, but I don't have any new memory slots to slot them in, so it's all a little bit weird, but I'm enjoying myself. I think it's a little bit fun. I have gotten caught on a lot of like random shit in the environment and it kind of annoys me. It's very easy to do so. And since I only have 2 swings with my pick, I will get caught on like a random shrub and waste a swing because the rot enemy has just gotten slightly further away than it was before. And then I just have to wait for my energy to come back. It's a little annoying, but I don't mind it. It's not too bad.
I getcha. It looks really slow.
Yeah, it's very slow. Yeah.
This game looks super cute. This game looks like it could be a lot of fun, but man, the just speed of combat, like I'm watching someone play it right now, the way you're swinging your sword against this boss, the way you lose stamina so quickly and then you just have to kind of like stand in front of them seems a bit excessive.
It's aggressively slow. Because the weird thing about this is in like Dark Souls or like typical stamina systems, you have a pool and each swing, like let's say if you have 100, each swing takes 30. So you have quite a few swings. This is just based on the number. So it's like you have 2. You can swing and you can dodge. You could swing twice. But once that's done, you have to wait for it to recuperate. So I just walk away, which is really, in a sense, like it takes away from the stakes of battles because I'm just like, I swing and then I literally just like take a little stroll.
Let me move over here.
Yeah, it's a little odd. And you can, like, you have a shield that you get, but you can block like 1. You could block 1 or 2, but after that, it's done. You have to wait for your stamina to come back. I feel like it's a weird way to start off the game with only 2. I feel like if you started off with 3 hits, it would be a little bit faster, a little bit more fast-paced, and a little bit more interesting. One thing I did want to talk about with this game that is actually a little bit worrisome for me, and I feel like maybe it's because its announcement was in like a Nintendo Direct and they often don't refer to like other platforms, but I have a Steam achievement of this game, several, that apparently only 2% of players have, but they are things you just normally do in the game. They're like, basically, it seems like people bought the game, hopped into it for maybe 5 seconds, like literally just walked around and then didn't play anymore.
They're like, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, it was like 2% of players slept in this different town, and it's like, you have to do that 10 minutes into the game. Why has only 2% of players done that? Like, maybe they went out exploring, but you can't really. Like, I don't understand. So it seems like not a lot of people are actually playing this game on Steam, or at least based on the amount of purchases. Like, maybe a lot of people bought it, but they just haven't invested a lot of time into it.
I don't know. I also don't always trust those Steam achievement things, because sometimes it's like based on the day versus based on overall. But granted, even if based on the day, it should still be high because this game did just shadow drop. So like,
yeah, it came out like less than a week ago. So I really don't understand. And it's literally, I got 3 different achievements that were like, only 2% of people have this. And I'm like, you get this at the beginning of the game. What? This isn't like a mid-game, end-game. This isn't something that people just did in the campaign like halfway through the game. This is literally something you do 5 to 10 minutes into the game. And I find that personally somewhat worrisome, especially because I am enjoying this game and I think it is worth the price of entry, that $20, and I think it's worth your time to play. But I don't really know. Like you said, like maybe I just shouldn't trust these Steam achievements, because we also like, it's not like they display how many are sold on Steam or how many people are like concurrent players. That's something that they announce on occasion for games, but not often. So I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever be able to get over how slow that combat and movement is.
Oh, it's very, very slow. And currently the gameplay is feeling a bit repetitive, because to keep up your village, you have to do these different tasks every day. So it's like 2 to 3 tasks. I've yet to have one. I initially did like every day was like 3 tasks, and then now it's gone down to 2. Maybe it'll go down to 1, and each day we'll just have 1 task going forward. But doing these tasks takes up the majority of the day, so I can't really do anything else. And it just seems like every day is just doing the same monotonous shit. And it's starting to feel a little bit repetitive, because it's literally just like there's 3 tasks, 3 different types. You never have the same. So it's never just like eliminate a bunch of enemies. 3 different tasks that are just like kill those, kill those, kill those. Instead, it's like you have one that's kill, one that is repair, and one that is gather, essentially. And if like one just might not happen, like maybe you don't have to repair something. Okay, so I just have to kill and gather. If you don't have to kill, you just repair and gather. But like, it's essentially just a never-ending fetch quests, and it's very weird. You just do the same thing every time.
It's getting to be like the saving your Fallout 4 camps from attack.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that, and I'm actually afraid it's going to continue, because like I said, I've only played this game for 2 or 3 hours, so it's very possible that this is just like, I have to do this right now to build up this settlement, so then I can go and I can invest in other settlements, do similar stuff, but also progress the story. Like, I was mostly just looking forward to progressing the story. I didn't know I was actually going to have to invest in settlement building, essentially. Right, yeah. So it's a little bit odd. I don't really know. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. I'm going to continue playing because I really like the cutesy nature of Concord and this entire like area. And I like how it basically has a Souls-like stamina and Estus class system, but they just cover it up in a cute way where it's like, oh yeah, this is the sun's energy that you've stored up as your stamina.
I mean, they still got that praise the sun thing going on.
Yeah, and then you have dew for Estus Flask, but you only get 2, which is a little bit weird. But granted, they heal you entirely, so it's odd. I'm excited to see how it goes. They kept the backpack UI, which I talked about initially. I really enjoy it. I appreciate it a lot. I find it a little bit odd that you can't actually see the backpack on Concord. That bothers me. I gotta be real though. It's like, especially because like you can purchase new backpacks to just look aesthetically different, but it'll just change your UI. So it's a little weird. whatever.
Strange.
You can also purchase new hats that are also cosmetic. And I bought a bunch of hats because I wanted to stop looking at the stem on Concord's head. So whatever. I think the game is fun. I think so far it is worth $20. I would continue to give you updates up until, the Psychonauts release date. Hopefully I beat this game by then.
We'll see. I'm excited. Shit. I'm excited to hear how it continues.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that it does not heavily feature these like just reoccurring settlement building things. They have actually pointed out in the game that you can ignore them. You don't have to do them. But I feel like right now I can't go anywhere. I don't know what I can do in this game without building up this town. So that's what I meant by like, maybe after this town, I won't have to worry about it. But it seems like right now I literally have to do it to progress the story. And it's super grindy and somewhat boring. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Cool. Hopefully it changes. Can't wait to get that fucking fishing rod because I really enjoyed that. That was the only ranged weapon in the demo was the fishing rod. I thought that was funny. So time for our news stories. Our first news story is over on IGN. This one is written by Adam Bankhurst, and it is basically just a wrap up of the Nintendo Switch Indie World Showcase from like a week ago. I want to, instead of talking about like our major highlights, I did just want to like kind of run through this and talk about the news and such of it, and we can talk about how we felt about it.
Sure.
So big things. There are a lot of shadow drops in this. One, Axiom Verge 2 is actually it just shadow dropped onto the Nintendo Switch. I found it weird that it got delayed so many times, and it almost seemed like that last delay of Axiom Verge 2 was just to do this.
Right.
It was just to include it in this Indie World Showcase and shadow drop it. And it's like, I'm pretty sure this game would have come out earlier than this. So you definitely just did this on purpose. But whatever, dude. I mean, it seems interesting. Did you watch the Indie World Showcase?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I want to know. I watched several of these trailers. This Axiom Verge one, did it ever, like, does it have, like, an end cap in the showcase that's like, this is available today? Because I'm 95% sure it doesn't actually say that in this trailer.
Maybe not in the trailer, but it did in the showcase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad, because watching these trailers, I was like,
yeah,
when did it say that?
Yeah, because the way a lot of the Nintendo, at least for this Indie World one, the way they do it is their structure is basically show a trailer and then show gameplay footage right after and have those two people talking about it, that boy and girl who are like, wow, can you believe that in Axiom Verge you can be blah, blah, blah? And then the person's like, yeah, I can't wait to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I do not like them.
Which is really weird because you'd think like everyone is just like, we need a personality for these things, and they're just have two, but they're just faceless voices.
I wish they would show them, show the people. That's what
have
pisses
some
me
sort
off.
of human connection.
That is the one thing that pisses me off the most with them is, well, one, they're cheesy as hell, which is fine, but it's like that's their personality is like, we're cheesy, and I'm like, have a little bit more. But two, you never see those people, and I wish they would just show them or have some kind of introduction or some kind of like, hey, we're going to talk about the games and like, this is why we're here. This is who we are. Like, we're blah, 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 whatever. Because on the flip side, which we'll talk about in a second from the ID at Xbox thing, I really enjoyed having moments where they had announcers. They had people who were like, walking you through the showcase. They had these individuals who were talking about the games after or would be talking with the developers during it. And it just gives more of a human face to it, as opposed to just like, this is a game and this is two robot voices that are talking to us about the game randomly.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. That's what I liked about the Annapurna Interactive Showcase is that it didn't seem to like, it had the woman who did like the intro and outro for the showcase, but for the most part it didn't actually. It just had the transition screens and stuff like that, and you talked to developers or you saw developers and they actually showed them for the most part, with the exception of I believe the Neon White developer. But other than that, they actually kind of committed to not having this person that's meant to be leading you through the showcase. They're not meant to be that personality that hooks you into it. Instead, they were just kind of like, yeah, this is about these games, these developers, instead of these two just bodiless voices.
Right. And it also makes it easier to not, like, this is going to be a weird statement, but it makes it easier to hate is a strong word, but hate those two as characters because there is no fucking face to them. They're not a person to me. They're just these two random voices. Whereas I see two people. Voices. Yeah. Whereas I see two people literally talking to me on a screen and I'm like, you're a human. I should respect you. Right. But otherwise, like, I hear nothing but their two voices and I'm like, who are you? Why are you talking? What?
You could be a robot. You don't deserve my respect.
I don't fucking know. It's a weird statement, but it's like, I feel like that might be one weird reason why I'm triggered by it so much. But I just don't like those two random voices they use for Indie World.
All right.
But the games and stuff they showed off was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. Tetris Effect Connect arrives this October, specifically October 8th, 2021, headed to the Nintendo Switch. That's pretty interesting. There's not really actually any news in this one, but Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is headed exclusively when it comes to consoles. It's a console exclusive to the Nintendo Switch in 2022. No specific release date. I'd assume it's going to come out on the same day on PC, as far as I know. Especially because they specified console exclusive. Typically, when they do that, yeah. Plus, why not release it on PC as well?
Right.
Don't even really compete with them. Loop Hero is headed to the Nintendo Switch sometime this winter. It didn't give a specific date, which I found somewhat annoying about a lot of these, is they were just like, yeah, it's coming. We don't know when, but annoyed is a very strong word. I almost felt nothing. Like, I was just like, it would be cool to get a specific release date, but hey, it's coming in winter. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people didn't know. There were people who were just like, Loop Hero would probably be good on the Switch. Like, it's a good game for something that is very, just like, you don't need any crazy intensive graphics. It's good for just like, it seems like very much a mobile game in the fact that you're really just putting random things down. Like, I wonder if they have a touchscreen part to this. Like, that I think's cool. If they do.
I hope they do. I think that would be the best way to do it, because the Switch has a touchscreen, right? Am I wrong about that? I'm fairly certain that it's a touchscreen. Yeah. I haven't touched my Nintendo Switch in months, so I wouldn't know. But I think that, honestly, they should, because I feel like the UI might be kind of clunky otherwise, especially because it's designed so perfectly for PC, where you can just... I got my mouse. I just pick up the card.
Drag and
post
drop.
It there. Yep. I just click on the different stuff. So I think that they should do a touch screen, or at least make this applicable to touch screen if people want to, because I think it would work much better that way. We both love Loop Hero. It's an awesome game, and I'm excited for more people to experience it, especially, I hope this comes out before the Game Awards, so hopefully more personalities within the industry have time to play Loop Hero and possibly put it in their, Game of the Year nominations, or talk about it for actually, Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, because I feel like this should be nominated for something. It's a fucking great game. I really like it. Maybe not Indie Game of the Year, because it is kind of like a niche title, but it's super fun. I really enjoy it. The one thing I do want to say, though, is, do you think the kind of, I guess the uninvolved nature of the game is ill-suited for the Nintendo Switch specifically? I think it would work really well on phones, on mobile. But what about the Nintendo Switch specifically? Because I feel like, I don't know, for some reason when it comes to console games, I assume more of interactivity.
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of games out there from whether it be a mobile or from a Switch perspective that don't have the craziest of think of all the people who enjoy visual novels as a genre. That's literally a button press. And there's a lot of people who use the Switch as a visual novel system. So I think there's still an audience for it. I think this game in its very nature is a little weird and is kind of it doesn't really have a genre to sit in, because it's kind of like an idle game, but not at the same time. It's kind of like a cookie clicker in some ways, but not. I don't know. I still think that it's a perfect game to just have, because it is, as we've talked about, a great kind of mindless play the game / not play the game type of game.
I think it's a great commute game. If anything, like with people playing their Nintendo Switch on their way to work, they could hop into Loop Hero and just be like, yeah, I'm going to do a couple loops, whatever. Granted, some of them can go on for a very long time if you're good at it.
Right. So. Yeah, but at the same time, like I think this is a perfect game for those people who, like, I know one of the things that I used to do with my Switch all the time is I might watch something on TV, but still play something like a JRPG type game where there's a grind to it and just have it kind of on while watching something and not really paying most attention to it. Whereas this game is perfect for that. Like, this is the type of game that is a good, like, you don't need to pay the fullest of attention to enjoy this game.
Yeah, I guess my only thing about it was that, like, you can actually go a while without interacting with anything in this game if you want. Like, you can actually, there were times that I was just doing grinding runs in Loop Hero.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to get resources. So I would get pretty fucking beefy and then I would just sit there. Like, I would let it just run by itself forever. Because you can set down enough tiles to the point where you're like, I know that, especially if you play the Necromancer, let's be real, you can, or the Rogue. The Warrior's a little bit different, but I pretty much main the Necromancer. You can actually just go into a run and not touch the game for like hours. You could just let it go. And it'll do its own thing and gain resources and stuff. But I hope people like it on the Nintendo Switch. I hope it has this like touchscreen functionality. I think it'd be great. Next one, we've got Eastward finally has a release date. This one's actually coming next month to the Nintendo Switch and PC. It's September 16th. So excited about this one. This is one of the trailers where I was like, here's the thing I appreciate about the Eastward trailer is that it says it all in there. So I feel like this is good for both inside of a showcase and on YouTube. Because that Axiom Verge trailer, I'm 100% certain, or I guess 95% certain, that it doesn't say out now. It just says 2021, or it just says the Nintendo Switch. So if you watch that on YouTube, you'd be like, oh, cool. The game looks interesting. But I feel like that additional, like, you can never count on people to do that little bit of additional research into something to find out that it is actually out now. Mm-hmm. So I feel like when it comes to like an Eastward where they're just like, it's coming out September 16th, or I believe we in the Garden Story trailer, it's like out now on the Nintendo Switch and stuff. I enjoy that because it's good for both the showcase and for YouTube, where I feel like the majority of people are actually going to be watching this trailer is outside of the showcase. But that's just my deal. Eastward, super excited about it. Hopefully going to be playing it after I beat Psychonauts 2. Then we pretty much just got the announcement that Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon is coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime, I believe, either like, in winter, which is
who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to play it though. Looks like my jam.
Yeah. Seems interesting. It's all right. I'm interested. Obviously, because I said seems interesting. I don't know what I'm fucking saying anymore. So then we got Metal Slug Tactics. This one is coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2022. I would assume PC as well. It looks interesting. I like the aesthetic a lot to it. I've always found like Metal Slug to look very interesting, but I'm not super into tactics games. So we'll see what happens. I know a lot of people are actually kind of into turn-based tactics stuff right now, especially, I mean, I feel like if they release this at the height of the like Fire Emblem Three Houses craze, I feel like it would be a little bit, probably sold a little bit more, but people still like these games. So like Fae Tactics and such, like people enjoy them. So that's good for them. Then we've got Toem, I believe, got a release window. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch and PC this fall, which is pretty cool. Toem looks very interesting. Yep. Then we've got, I believe, the entire announcement. I don't know if we knew about this one beforehand, but is the sequel to Far Lone Sails. It is Far Changing Tides. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch and PC early in 2022. So if you're looking forward to that, it seems interesting. I like the aesthetic to the game, but I've never actually tried it out because it doesn't seem like my kind of a game. Same. But if it is yours, there you go. Early 2022, you could get the sequel. Now, onto a game that I very much enjoyed. Necro Barista Final Pour is headed to the Nintendo Switch. Actually, I believe it's available now available today on the Nintendo Switch. It is a visual novel. So keep that in mind before you go into this. It's mostly about kind of enjoying the characters and the story, but I very much enjoyed it on PC. Granted, I didn't finish it. So I got probably halfway through the game. Yeah. Just how I play games, I guess. Then we have Boyfriend Dungeon is available today, or at the time of this, it's just available on the Nintendo Switch and PC. I've heard very good things. I know friend of the show, Chris Penwell, very into Boyfriend Dungeon. Really, really enjoyed it. And how do you feel have you seen any of the discourse around Boyfriend Dungeon?
Not really. I mean, I think at face value, I'm sure that there's an audience that would be pretty hateful towards it. I think it's an interesting mashup. I'm always a fan of two genres coming together and turning into something that's like different. I like that you have these weapons that you for some reason, have these relationships with. Like, I think the concept, I think the concept is super interesting. It's just not at all anything I'm interested in. Like, and I looked at the gameplay from like the actual fighting standpoint, and I was like, that looks kind of fun. I think I would enjoy that, but like, I just don't want a dating sim. Like, we've talked about this with like Doki Doki and how I was like, good God, like, I just want the cool part about this that interests me and none of this other shit that they keep throwing my way.
I want the psychological horror, not the hentai. And the exact opposite, bro. I'm like, I'm not looking for the scares. I'm looking for the stiffies. So yeah, Boyfriend Dungeon looks really interesting. The reason I brought up the discourse is because apparently there is a group of people who's talked about how they don't, and this is the specific phrasing, which a lot of people have issues with, is that they didn't consent to the like more romantic aspects of this game. They thought it was going to be something different, like more of a hack and slash. And specifically, I saw on Twitter Callie Pelagi, formerly of GameSpot. I actually don't know where she went now. I think she's
at Nintendo.
Did she work for Nintendo?
Yeah, she's at Nintendo.
I wasn't 100% sure. I was like, I feel like it was serendipitous in some way because she's like a huge Pokemon person. But yeah, she was talking about how like using the phrase of consent is kind of like a bastardization of that phrase, because that is typically talking about like, in a way, like sexual harassment and much worse things, and using that to talk about just not wanting the dating part of this game. And is a little bit, it's also, it strays from the message. And also she was like, by playing the game, you consent.
Yeah. It's a really stupid, like from
especially
a language,
when a game is called Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yeah. But from like, even from its very core, like from a language perspective, saying that you didn't consent to it is ridiculous because no one's forcing you to play this game.
Yeah.
No one is telling you. And if anything, obviously, from a perspective of I developed a game, I need to try to market my game and show you a good, picture on what it is that you are purchasing. You, at the same token, have just as much responsibility to do even the minute amount of research to understand that this is also a dating sim before you play this game. Like, and if you bought the game and you didn't know, there's ways to get refunds. And like, if this isn't your jam, then just shut the fuck up and let people it's their jam, like, enjoy it.
Especially because this isn't an issue of like miscommunication or false advertising.
No way.
Like, they very specifically advertise this game as part dating sim.
Any trailer, any like promotional piece that I've ever seen about this, that's the big hook, is that they have this dating sim in it. Like, that's their whole catch.
Yeah, it's like if somebody went and bought Subverse and they're like, wow, I really didn't anticipate the sex. And I'm like, bro. That's
everywhere.
Literally what this game is. Like, that's the hook to this game.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are you talking about, bro? So there's that. I just wanted to bring that up because I did think it was like a little interesting bit. Then we've got Garden Story available now on both the Nintendo Switch and PC. I'm playing it on PC, enjoying it very much so, but I will give you more updates as I go through the game, very similar to what I did with Hollow Knight.
And I will not.
Then we've got Inlanders Console Edition. I believe this is also available now on the Nintendo Switch. I think it was actually on PC beforehand, so the PC crowd already got it. You can tell people what you think of it, but right now it's heading out to the consoles. The Nintendo Switch, possibly others. Anytime anybody talks about Nintendo, I swear to God, they're just like, how about we don't mention any other console? It's like Nintendo has their balls or something.
Once
like
it's
they've
on
got
Switch,
them in a vice grip. It's
once
weird.
It's on Switch, nothing else matters.
Apparently. And I believe that is the end of the showcase. I think it says alongside these games, there were also an indie montage of two games launching on the Nintendo Switch today. Slime Rancher Portable Edition, which we'll talk about in God Bless the Crowd, and Curious Expedition, and other upcoming games like 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, which is in winter 2021, Gang Beasts winter 2021, Astroneer January 2022, and Lumberjack in 2022. That would be the end of this Nintendo showcase. So I want to ask, how do you feel about it in general? And this is where I really want your more in-depth opinions on Shadow Drops. Like, do you like Shadow Drops? And how do you feel about so many being in one showcase? Because there's like 3 or 4.
That's a real good point. I will say, though, from a genre perspective, and from a lot of what was shadow dropped in here, I feel like
there's not a lot of overlap.
Audience that they're catering to, there isn't that much overlap. Granted, I could be wrong, right? This is an assumption, whatever. But I'm thinking in general, the genres are so different that there's probably going to be a person out there who is like, this is more of my bucket. Even if they're both interested in it, they'll probably gravitate towards one more than the other. And then they could always, pick it up later, kind of a thing.
Like there might be slight overlap between Axiom Verge and Garden Story, but obviously the actual worlds of those games are different. So you kind of know which one you're going for.
Right. So you're going to gravitate towards one more than the other, right? Like you picked up Garden Story versus Axiom Verge, and there's a reason for that.
Because Axiom Verge is gross.
Because sure, why not? So,
and also in that trailer, they had a lot of things that they didn't explain. I'm gonna be honest.
I feel like
the pixel, it went from 16-bit to 8-bit, and I'm like, why though? Like you didn't even say anything. You just did it.
It's fine.
What?
It's fine. It doesn't matter. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make, is that I don't mind it. I think it's cool from a general audience perspective. I think it is risky as hell from a developer side because shadow drops can be a big thing if they make a splash.
Yeah.
Or they could just have no marketing beforehand and just be total silence and then be like, oh, great. No one knew about this or saw it, and now we aren't getting copies. And if the problem with that is, yes, people can still buy the game or you could still market something later. But if something's not that immediate moment and makes like a splash and makes like that kind of like the talk of, oh, people on Twitter are going to converse about it or people on Reddit are going to, then it doesn't have as much hype that carries it through. Like your biggest selling point from a developer standpoint is going to be that first moment. And then you kind of like gradually dip off. There are, exceptions to this case when it comes to like famous streamers or just popularity from something like an Among Us or stuff like that. But that's not always the case. That's very much an exception to the rule.
Yeah, typically you see peaks and valleys.
Right.
It's just what happens.
But I think that like from the consumer side, I think shadow drops are so cool because it's very much that like that get hype moment of like, oh shit, this is out. I get to play this right now. Like it's super cool. I think from just the general person playing, it's great. If I didn't do this podcast, if I didn't I don't write anymore, but if I did, I feel for the people who, and granted, I think Axiom Verge did this in a way where they let other people in the industry know because reviews went out like right after it was announced.
Yeah.
But like there's other cases where people don't know, like when we think of like E3 and like just shadow drops at that time where people are like freaking out and they're like, oh, fuck, we didn't review this. Like now we have to worry about all this E3 news and also play this game and get a review out. Like there's from the marketing side, from a reviewer side, from a journalist side, like it kind of sucks. From just a consumer, I think shadow drops are great.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily dislike or like them. I find them sometimes cumbersome because I was like, oh, I was planning on playing a different game. Luckily, Garden Story getting shadow dropped. Like right now, I don't have anything to play. but there is a distinct possibility that for a lot of people looking forward to certain games, them getting shadow dropped means that they might fall in the point where somebody is binging, like, I don't know, the end of the season of the Splicer in Destiny 2. Like, if I was playing Destiny 2 right now, Garden Story would kind of be fucked because it would just get buried. Like, I wouldn't see it, and then I would probably not play it because there was, like, a little lead up to it. Right. But I guess that could happen at any point in time, whether you lead up to a release date or not.
That could happen regardless of if you had a fully fledged date, because dates get pushed back from other developers, or you have bigger studios which just have dates that you have to kind of like skirt around as an indie developer. But I think, you know, that's kind of what people need to do research for. Like sometimes a game just being finished isn't the reason why it came out that date, right? Like sometimes they will hold off because there are things like the I already have, and I meaning a collective of like a big group of people, have a video game that just came out recently that everyone's playing. So, we need to make sure it's not during that window, right? So like a shadow drop, even though they just shadow dropped it, it's not like the people at the studio were just like, hey, you know what we should do today? Let's just release the game, right? Yeah, like it's not a shadow drop for them. It's a shadow drop for us. So there's some planning that goes into it.
I am wondering if there was like they're like, okay, this holiday season is going to be a big deal. If we push off any of these release dates until then, people are probably going to be playing Halo Infinite. They'll be playing the new Call of Duty. They'll be hunkering down with any of these other titles where they're like, right now, people are they don't have a whole lot to play. So let's release it now. Get it out before everything. And like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of overlap in audiences in this. Like the games that were shadow dropped, like you had Axiom Verge, you had Garden Story, you had the Islanders, and I believe you had like a couple others. And most people aren't going to be playing several of those games. They're going to choose one. So our next news story, this one is over on Windows Central, because I fucking shit you not, the only place that I swear reported on this other than GameSpot, and GameSpot did a horrible job. Not even joking. Literally one of the worst jobs I've ever seen.
Damn.
Compiling a showcase. They were just like, these are all the games shown in the showcase. And I'm like, cool. What fucking about them? Like, you're just saying what was shown. Yeah. I don't give a shit what was shown. I want to know what the actual announcements were.
I will to kind of argue in their defense and probably why a lot of people didn't do this.
Not a lot.
Well, no, it's not that it's not a lot. The thing about ID at Xbox with these showcases, I really like them because they do go in depth when it comes to like, they have these like blocks where they're like, we're going to talk about this game and we're going to have someone play the game. They did it with Aeon Drive. I think it's called Aeon Drive, where they had someone play the game. They had one person sitting down with the two developers and ask them questions while a person is playing their game in front of them, like a demo. And they're like commenting on his play of the game, commenting on questions about the interview, and going into this whole in-depth thing. And it's really cool, right? Because if you're interested in that game, or you now see that and you're like, oh, okay, I want to watch more. I want to see what this game is all about. Like, it's a really cool moment. The problem with that is the ID at Xbox like event, like that showcase, is like a full day because there's all of those type of things. So from just a journalist side of things, of trying to like wrap everything up, like it's kind of confusing because there's too much, and there wasn't like a concise like, this is exactly what we're showing and when. I think there was like a schedule in between occasionally I saw. I didn't watch the full thing just because it was so long, but like there were parts where they were just like, oh, we had technical difficulties, so we're gonna go to this random block now and talk about this. And so like there was shit where you're like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening right now? Like, I don't know what the schedule is. Point, yeah. So it's like, it's kind of nuts when it comes to what they're probably doing is like that same day, there's just a guy who's like, fuck, I gotta type up all these things that's happening. Like, and so they just get overwhelmed. And then usually it's like, okay, there's another showcase the next day, which I think was the Indie World showcase. And it's like, okay, fucking on to the next thing. Like, that's the whole thing with games. And just, I think news in general is like a thing in the news happens. And then people are like, okay, we're done with that. How about the next thing? And so you're just like, fuck it.
It also doesn't help that I'm fairly certain that the Indie World Showcase was announced literally like 2 days before. the actual showcase took place, which kind of sucks because ID at Xbox, they're like, yeah, we're gonna have ID at Xbox like a solid week in advance. Like they made sure people knew about it. Then I swear, I'm trying to look for the alerts that I have on Twitter because I swear they announced this Indie World Showcase like a day before. They were just like, fucking tune in if you want to see some indie games. It'll be cool. Like, whatever. I found it very odd and very jarring because I was like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't know there was going to be an Indie World Showcase. And I guess, yeah, you do make a good point. I definitely feel for the journalists who have to cover this, and it may take, like, a decently long amount of time to do so. That would definitely suck.
Yeah.
But
granted, it is what it is. I'm very surprised, though, that other people like an IGN didn't even, like, cover it. Seemingly, I don't know.
Literally, like, I look through sites. I go through like 5, 6, upwards of 8 different sites to put together our doc, and I actually had to look up specifically ID at Xbox announcements for August because no one covered it. And like, it wasn't heavily featured on GameSpot, but they did have a little bit about it. But like I said, it was actually just, these were the games that were shown. They didn't really they didn't really give a whole lot of fanfare, I'd say. They were just like, yeah, these are the games that were shown there. Nothing about them really, apparently. I don't know. Whatever.
Wow.
So,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it was interesting. You actually, how much of the showcase did you watch?
I watched about, I'd say 2 hours of it, which was, I watched a couple of the trailers. I watched that gameplay interview. And then I also watched a couple of things where they were like showcasing some, like a couple of people from the ID at Xbox team talking about like more about the program of like what they're doing for other indie developers. So it was like, that's the kind of thing. Like it was really cool information, but it's also, it caters to like a specific audience. And I feel like ID at Xbox needs to do this in a way where it's a bit more segmented in like very clear, here's the stuff that if you're interested in this, as far as like just a game's like what's coming out kind of a thing, like have like these windows that are like, hey, we're doing this time. Oh, here's people that like, I don't know, a little bit more of a clarity around when I'm watching and what's going to be shown. Because otherwise, I think if you just tuned in where I did, which was them talking to like people from ID at Xbox, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Like you're doing good stuff, but like, where's the games? Like, because I know there's people who are like that, who are just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, just show me what games you're making. And like, if that's
not a lot of people can invest their entire day into an ID at Xbox showcase,
right?
Like,
which is, I mean, it's a shame, but it's also the reality of like the way people consume things now is like, if you're not gonna hook someone, if they aren't like already into the idea of ID at Xbox and like want to hear more about it, then you're gonna lose them, right?
I believe, like I said, the word waste, by the way, I just meant spend your entire day. Waste is a bad word to say in that moment. But I do want to ask you, let's play a little game. How far in advance do you think they announced this Indie World Showcase? How far?
Well, so if I'm remembering correctly, I want to say it was, because they did the showcase on my birthday, which was August 10th. And I believe the notification came out August 8th.
So it's
2 days.
So yeah, I mean, time differences might be a little bit different. The showcase took place on August 11th, and they announced it on August 10th. It was literally one day.
Really? Maybe that's what I was thinking. What came out? Because I thought it was the 10th. Because I remember there was something where I was like, oh, it's my birthday.
No, it was August 11th, 2021 at 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET is when it took place. Apparently, that's what they have on their Twitter. So I just think that's crazy. They're like, yeah, we literally announced this like fucking a day in advance, and everyone was like, fuck. But to actually talk about what happened in the ID at Xbox showcase, some of the things that they talked about, Stardew Valley is actually coming to Game Pass. Game Pass for Xbox Series X and X, Xbox One, and PC sometime this fall. They don't currently have a specific release date, but there you go. We've got Library of Ruina is headed to Xbox Game Pass, I believe.
I downloaded it.
Oh, is it on the PC as well?
Yep. It's on PC.
Okay, it is. It's on PC Game Pass as well. There you go. Then they showed Evil Genius 2 World Domination. They showed the game itself, and I believe announced that it was going to come to Game Pass day one, which is pretty exciting. I very much enjoy that. I always love the day one Game Pass stuff. Then we saw a couple quick snippets of newly announced games, specifically Lightyear Frontier, which I don't know if people got this from press releases or something, but literally the only thing I have seen reported about this game is that it is Stardew Valley with mechs. And I'm like, bro, when you watch this fucking trailer, where do you get Stardew Valley with mechs? So, like I said, maybe it's in the press kit where they're just like, think Stardew Valley with mechs, and everybody was just like, oh man, that's a good title. We would fucking put that on the article. People can click on this shit. But otherwise, it was literally just like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a settlement builder. Like you're gonna get crafting materials, build up a settlement and such. They were just like Stardew Valley with mechs. I get that Stardew Valley is a settlement builder, and it's probably the easiest way to explain that genre, but
no, it's SEO.
Found it very odd. Yeah, it's probably SEO.
It's all SEO. It's just to get people to put you at the top of the search pages.
You know what? I'm surprised, since this game is also somewhat of a settlement builder, they didn't say the Wandering Village was Stardew Valley on the back of a giant whale lizard thing. Just that 100% that title. They're like whale lizard thing, easiest SEO. It's maybe they were like, ooh, can't do two like Stardew Valley things together. Like they're like, we had the Stardew Valley coming to Game Pass. We had Stardew Valley with mechs. Can we afford a third? Maybe we're starting to like, it's a little bit too much.
But that's what it is.
Yeah, totally. Even though it's not, it's like much more like reuse or basically these like older city builders where you actually, well, I guess that would be the difference. You're not building up a settlement. It is a city builder. Mm-hmm. So it's more of like what I would say like
a Sim City.
Yeah, Sim City, a Zoo Tycoon, a reuse, a Frostpunk, even since Frostpunk 2 is announced. Like it's much more like that than it would be like going around and getting crafting resources like a Stardew Valley. Sure. Then we got a gameplay trailer for Lab Rat, which looks pretty cool. Interesting. Yep. Got a gameplay trailer for I believe it's actually titled RPG Time: The Legend of Wright, but in Windows Central they don't actually have the trailer there anymore, so I couldn't watch it. They just say that it's a gameplay trailer. Yeah, I don't know.
It's really cool. Have you ever seen RPG Time: The Legend of Wright?
No,
Oh, it looks so dope, dude. It's like all hand drawn, and it's like this weird, very just like insanely populated UI. And it kind of just looks like a storybook, and you're like this little hero. Like, I don't know what you actually do in this game. It looks very much overwhelming with just like random colors and things going on the screen, and it's almost like you're in this art book of a world.
What the fuck is this game?
I know, but I want to know more about it, because even from the trailer I was still like, that's cool, but like, what do I do from like just the gameplay loop? But I'm still super interested when it actually comes out to see what it is.
Yeah, it looks interesting. So then we got a trailer for Ollie Ollie World, which is headed to, I guess, Xbox consoles and such on sometime in winter 2021. Inked: A Tale of Love is headed to these platforms on August 27th. And we've got Sam and Max Save the World Remastered. They got a launch trailer, and apparently it is available now. We saw an Aeon Drive gameplay trailer when they talked about they talked about the co-op functionality of the game. Yep. Looked kind of interesting. That's headed to these platforms on fall 2021. We saw the Big Con, which you can currently pre-order. That was a weirdly large part of their trailer where they were like, once again, you can pre-order this game on these consoles now. And I was like, is this like the comic book industry where everything is based on pre-orders? Like success is based on pre-orders, not sales? Because this shit is weird.
Yeah. They're going for that 90s appeal. They're trying to go for how, GameStop, they just wanted them pre-orders all the time.
Maybe. And they talked about they were weirdly in this trailer. They were weirdly focused on the voice cast, which I guess the trailer is literally about meeting the cast.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's the game though?
Well, the game is it's like an adventure game where I feel like there's not going to be too much of like a, mechanically heavy gameplay. It's going to be more of like kind of like a point and click, but you actually get to move around type of game. So I feel like really a lot of the focus is the voice acting done well, because that carries the game very heavily.
And even then though, they were so weird about what the voice acting was, because they had Dave Fennoy read literally a sentence that says like 13 words of dialogue plus miscellaneous grunts, and he's like, what are you guys doing to me? I was like, so does he not talk? Does he? Like, is this dialogue heavy? I'm not getting what you're going for here. I find it so weird that you're marketing your game this way. But once again, this isn't like a gameplay trailer or anything. It's just a meet the cast trailer. So I guess it's what its entire purpose is. It's just very weird. Then we got The Veil Shadow of the Crow on August 19th. And Origami 2, not Origami 2. Origami 2 headed to Game Pass on September 17, 2021. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous gameplay trailer. That one's coming March 1st, 2022. We got the announcement that Paparazzi, which is like it's very interesting. It's like the Pokemon Snap-esque game that is about taking pictures of puppies.
I love it.
It's interesting.
I can't wait.
It's headed to Game Pass day 1, but I don't believe we got a release date.
Yes. Who cares, man?
Heading to
Game Pass day 1. I'm going to take all those cute doggy pictures.
Yeah. In Spaceline From the Far Out, it got a pre-order trailer apparently. It's headed to the console on sometime in fall 2021, and they had an Artful Escape gameplay trailer. I'm not saying that Windows Central ported this well either, by the way. It's not very good the way that they did it, especially because 90% of their trailers aren't actually in this article anymore for some weird reason, but like, it's better than I've seen. Well, so, Big Josh Boy, do you have any big standout moments of the ID at Xbox Showcase you want to talk about before we head into News Cram?
No, I think throughout the course of this entire segment, we pretty much covered everything. I think we're ready to get crammed.
All right. So, it is time for us to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of IndiePod and Indie Games Podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week, we do not have any quick news stories or new deals or quick steals, but of course, indie games are always on sale, so please check out any various storefronts. You can pick up some sweet-ass indies. You can support the devs. Everyone very much appreciates it.
It's true.
Now on to some new stuff. Our first 7 items in new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it supported that popular Roguevania Dead Cells by Motion Twin just received a new update on consoles titled What's the Damage?, which includes several new rooms as well as a plethora of bug fixes, and seems like the majority of this update was actually about balancing different weapons. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. I played a bunch of Dead Cells, very much enjoyed it, but I never noticed that it needed any sort of balancing with different weapons, but I didn't get too far into the game. So there's that. That's cool. Murder Mystery Card Battler RPG. This seems like your fucking jam if I've ever heard one. Are you
talking to me?
Yeah, it's like you created this game in a lab. Like, this shit is your jam. The Magister by I think this is Nerduk Productions, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on September 2nd. That roguelike action platformer Critadel, which, by the way, apparently the hardest thing to type, because I typed it and it was like, nah, you mean Citadel. And I was like, I mean Critadel. And it was like, are you sure though? I'm pretty sure you mean Citadel. And I was like, I fucking swear I'll Grammarly change it one more time and I'll fuck your shit up. I'm getting pissed. By Pixelian? I don't know. Pixelian Studios is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via both Steam and the Epic Game Store sometime in Q4 2021. That first-person sandbox experience, which is the way that they describe this on their Steam page, because I was like, I don't know how to explain Slime Rancher. I really don't. But Slime Rancher... You collect the slimies.
That's all you need.
You build up a settlement with the slime boys. It's interesting. By Monami Park is now available on the Nintendo Switch. That RPG dating sim, Love Esquire, which is like, if I've ever fucking seen a big Josh Boy game, this one's it. You know what I mean? Fuck yeah, RPG dating sim.
Is that
Love
for me?
Esquire
I don't think so.
Yang Gang Mobile is now available on the Nintendo Switch. That platformer Super Hiking League DX by Bit Inc. Studios is now available on the Nintendo Switch. And that strategy game Chrono Faction by Mojo Bones Ltd. is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in Q4 of this year. Now over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that adventure game Lake by Gamios, I believe is how you say that, is headed to the Xbox Series X and S as well as PC via Steam on September 1st. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that strategy survival game Frostpunk 2 by 11-Bit Studios is headed to the PC via Steam, GOG, and the Epic Game Store, yet no release date was given. Currently don't know when it's going to come out, but it is cool that it got announced. I played a little bit of Frostpunk.
Okay.
Yeah. I played a little bit when it came to PlayStation 4 for an article that I wrote for Handsome Phantom, but I'm not a big strategy guy. It was interesting.
Into the big brains games?
Yeah, it was interesting because it's all about living in this nuclear wasteland, where it's like
that
a
seems
nuclear
like my
winter.
jam.
Yeah, well, it's a nuclear winter where you actually have to build your settlement around these big like heating cores, and the distance you build things away is actually kind of an issue because it could be too cold. People die of frostbite. It's very interesting. It's very cool. So it makes like the placement of different things actually very meaningful. I enjoyed it. What I played of it.
Interesting.
Not being a big fan of this franchise, but it was cool.
Good to know.
And to round out the group, over on GameSpot, it is reported that both iconic puzzle platformers Spelunky and its sequel Spelunky 2 are headed to the Nintendo Switch on August 26th, and that an obscure collector's edition of the award-winning RPG Disco Elysium by ZAUM is now available for pre-order over on IM8bit's website. The collector's edition is sadly only available with a PlayStation 5 copy of the game, which kind of blows, and includes a Mind Totem statue, a 190-plus page art book, and much more for a mere $249.99.
Oh, damn, is that all? What a deal.
Yeah. It's so good. Oh my God, Big Josh Boy. But we've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it's time for us to get back to the creators in our next segment. God bless the crowd. This is where the biggest average Josh Boys and I hop over to all sorts of crowdfunding sites and find something awesome to talk about. This week we are actually headed over to Indie Gogo.
Yeah.
This is few and far between. We head to Indie Gogo of all places. We go to Fig more often than we go to Indie Gogo. It's been like twice in 3 years, I swear.
So here's the thing. Before we really get started with this segment, okay, I had the choice of doing either this, which I went to Kickstarter and I didn't find anything that I was like really into, except for one, which I'll talk about in a second. I went to Fig, nothing new, which they haven't had anything new for a while. And then I was like, all right, we'll try Indie Gogo. And it was one of those moments where I was like, there's no way, there's never anything. And then I saw this and I was like, this actually looks really good. I can't believe it. Indie Gogo has something. The other one that we would have talked about was an erotic RPG that I was like, you know what?
You didn't want to talk about that, Big Josh Boy?
I was like, I don't want to have another. It would have been another Subverse moment, like 100%. Yeah. But you know what? They just started that Kickstarter campaign, so maybe that'll be next week. You'll have to wait and see.
Damn, I might have to fucking invest, dude. I just spent $80 on Crowsworn.
Oh my God. Yeah, but Crowsworn.
Let's fucking go, dude. Yeah, I had to get me that fucking steel case, bro.
I know.
You told me I can get a steel case?
I get it.
You best believe I'm going to be doing it, okay?
That's true.
So, this week we're over on Indie Gogo talking about a game or viewing a game called Bittersweet Birthday, a game of heart and horror, and a challenging... What? I feel like I was doing good with the reading. I felt like I was doing good for a while. You always got to fail eventually.
We had this really rough patch at the start, but then once we got going, you were picking up, and now you're just tumbling down the mountain. And now
peaks and valleys, just like video game sales, peaks and valleys, bro.
And the only problem is for you, we're going all the way down. It's only downhill here.
I'm going to hit rock bottom fairly soon.
For
Hopefully
sure.
we end this podcast before it happens. But this is a challenging action game featuring a story full of mystery and endearing cast of characters. The developers are World Eater Games, and they are looking for $23,000. That is their fixed goal. And they currently have, at the time of this recording, $7,740 with 25 days left to go and 129 backers. To get in on the ground floor and actually get a copy of the game,
15.
Okay. Is
15.
it 15? I was
15.
like, it's actually very weird the way
So,
they do their stuff.
Indie-
I believe the 15 is the early bird.
Yes.
Which is, it still has a couple.
It's got about 100. Yeah.
And then otherwise it's $20
Right.
to get a copy of the game.
Indie Gogo is a little weird because you have to actually click on the thing to like each of these tiers. Yeah. Because otherwise it has the title, which is kind of like strange because it has like $10 invitation card. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean? It includes the items, wallpapers, and your name in the credits. If you go to early bird and you click on it, that early bird one has wallpaper, your name in the credits, and a digital copy of the game. So to actually get this, you have to spend $15 for the early bird or $20 if those are all taken.
Okay.
I also wanted to really quickly talk a little bit about Indiegogo and their structure because we haven't really talked about it in a long time, and normally we're on Kickstarter. Fixed goal, you mentioned it's $23,000. What that means is Indiegogo has the ability to have a structure where no matter what goal they've set, they'll take your money unless it says fixed goal. Which in this case, the only way that they will get this funding, the whatever money you put in, is if they hit that 23,000 cap, or not cap, but value that they're trying to hit. So it's very similar to Kickstarter, but I just wanted to pinpoint that down just in case anyone was like, what do you mean by fixed goal? Which you could kind of find out. But anyway, just wanted to lay that out there. The actual game, though, I want to talk about for this is really interesting. I at first looked at it and I was like, this is giving me really hardcore Amori vibes. And I think that's what pulled me in immediately is you're this person who just kind of like wakes up in this strange factory and like does not remember who they are at all. And you even look at like the character list and your name for that character is like scrubbed out. So you have no idea. And this is Bittersweet's birthday main character. And you're just kind of like, you're this person who you don't know who you are. You have these random, very strange looking characters who some of them are trying to kill you, but also in the trailer, they're following you and are like your companion. So it's like super weird. It seems like one of those like Goku Vegeta stories of like, maybe he hates you, but is just along for the ride for some specific reason that pulls you together. But then the combat of it at first, I was like, it seems like just very fast paced, like whatever combat. And it's like the dodge roll and attacking and kind of like facing bosses. It seems like from a perspective of I don't know. It doesn't look like anything is crazily done. That's something that we haven't seen before from a combat perspective. But I really liked when going into their explanation of like why they're doing certain things with bosses and the way that each one of them should feel unique, so to speak, is by making them have a certain mechanic based on each boss. So what I mean by that is the first boss that you have that's showcased is this strange bird called Rocco, and its main concept is around bullet hells. So all of its attacks are doing bullet hell patterns and having you like dodge and weave between them and trying to make sure that you're actually dodging things in a pattern that is a little kind of crazy for the combat style that you have. Whereas then the next one they have is more of like a Souls-like, where it has, the very pinpoint like specific reaction time that you have to have based on a certain visible cue that the boss plays out. And like obviously this is only a quick glimpse and it's just like a taste of that idea, but I really like the strategy of saying that each boss is going to have a very widely unique mechanic that you have to play into, because at first I looked at it and I just saw the bullet hell mechanic and I was like, this just looks crazy. But I was like, oh, they're playing into that for each one of the different types of bosses. They also have these memory things, which go into, I loved it from an accessibility standpoint, is like as you're progressing through the story, you're getting your memories back and you're able to use those as not only a story beat, but also a mechanic to the game, which is you can use those memories and kind of like equip them, so to speak, and each of them have certain things that will either play into like maybe you have more of a time to dodge certain attacks or whatever it might be, but it adds to that level of like you don't have to equip them, they say, at all. So it could just be like, do you want a harder version of the game or do you want an easier version of the game based on equipping certain memories? So it's like, I definitely love the idea of this because I can see this game getting possibly tough, especially if you're putting bosses that have bullet hell patterns. Like that's going to be nuts to deal with. So I think there's a lot in here that looks really cool. I really like the animation to it. I like the characters that I've seen so far. They look very unique and just interesting. I don't know. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I actually really, really like this. I think it looks awesome. And I like the idea of you showing up and not knowing what's going on. You don't know who you are. And you just kind of have to figure out why this is all happening. This is probably like, I mean, far more than Omori, because I'm not a turn-based guy. For some reason, I've just never been super into it. Outside of the Pokemon games or just Monster Tamers in general, I've really never been in like to turn-based stuff.
Right.
But I actually kind of like the like, I don't want to say horror elements of this, but the more like mystery and dark takes on this mixed in with that more action focused gameplay. I think this looks really cool. I'm going to have to check out the demo because maybe this will be the first thing I ever back on Indie Gogo. $15. Yeah. That is not a bad price for this game. Like this looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to ask, like, I wonder why they didn't go to Kickstarter, which sounds weird.
I don't know.
But like, I feel like not many people go to Indie Gogo for crowdfunding campaigns anymore. So I'm really wondering why they chose Indie Gogo over like any other one. Like maybe it's because Kickstarter is so crowded. Like everybody goes to Kickstarter.
That's true.
So maybe they went to Indie Gogo because there's not many. And this has like a unique enough look to it to where this could be like, I believe that just based on the way this game looks, it could be a success.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it'll get people to come to Indie Gogo. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a little bit more into this, so to speak, as far as like the background of like why you would choose one over the other. There might be something where, you know, from Kickstarter, they take a larger percentage that Indiegogo doesn't because they have a smaller, percentage of games really coming out. I don't know. I don't know the background, so I might be totally off on that. It is a super interesting change. I'm trying to look through their FAQ to see if there's anything really quick on that. But I don't see anything. Yeah, no, there's not. No, which I'd love to know because it is an interesting departure from like the obvious one. But I think you kind of nailed or hit the nail on the head where Kickstarter is getting kind of to a point just oversaturated when it comes to like every other day there's a new game that comes out and it's easy to get piled under things. Granted, I think that if this was on Kickstarter, it would probably do fine because it does have a really good premise. And I think a lot of it is very well thought out already, where some Kickstarters have like nothing to show at the start. But yeah, I don't know. It also, I don't know how international works from a Kickstarter perspective. Like I know there are international people, but maybe like this is from Panama. Maybe Kickstarter doesn't work well over there. Like I really don't know. There could be a number of different reasons.
Could be a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
I do have to say, one of the things I love the most, and this is just, it's like one of those weird little quirks that I love about games. That's just weird. I love that this kid's always posting up. He's like, he's got his fists up and he's ready to fight. I don't know why, but I love that shit. Like, he doesn't have some magical sword or anything like that. He's literally punching these people and fucking headbutting them and shit. I don't know why I find that so amazing, but I'm into it. I like it a lot. Like, imagine a bird boy who's throwing piercing feathers and fire at you, and you just fucking punch it. This reminds me of that video of the guy who punches that kangaroo. Like, what?
I love that one. Yeah, very true. Very true. Sometimes you just need a good fisting, you know?
On occasion, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that from many people.
It's true.
It's almost a known fact that on occasion, just need a fisting. you know. So, but Joshua, do you have any last little tidbits that you want to talk about when it comes to Bittersweet Birthday before we head into our listener questions?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. I think it looks really great. People should check it out.
Oh, yeah. The pixel art by itself looks really, really awesome. I'm actually very surprised at how good this pixel art looks. It looks awesome. I might hop into that early bird, dude. $15. That's not bad. That's not bad. And then the Ansys Steel Case edition. I'm like, fuck me.
It's like, here's $80.
There goes everything I have. So it is now time for us to hop into our listener questions. Our first question comes from Philip Renshaw, the 1 minute of Australia. They write in and ask, who would win in a fist fight, Elmo or Oscar the Grouch? So, Sesame Street, they chillin'. Oscar the Grouch, I don't know, maybe he spits on Elmo. And Elmo's had a bad day. These are like older versions of these characters. This isn't Elmo as a kid. This is like, let's say, I don't know, fucking middle-aged Elmo.
Middle-aged?
He just came back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he just came back from the office.
He's losing some red fluff on his hair, on his head.
Yeah, like he's hit that midlife crisis. Oscar the Grouch is chilling there, and he's just like, sup, bitch? And they've always been friends, but like, Oscar's always been a little bit abrasive, and he calls Elmo
even say
a bitch.
He's a grouch.
Yeah, Elmo's just not feeling it, and he's like, who wins?
I think Oscar. I'm gonna give it to Oscar. I don't know, because we know how Elmo looks. He's scrawny.
Yeah.
Oscar down there, he gets up and he's just got like a full six-pack. He's jacked as fuck, and he's like, boom, and just right out.
Yeah, he just rockets Elmo. Yeah, that is a good point. We never see the bottom half of Oscar. Maybe all he does is leg day. You know what I mean?
Fucking just everyone's like, you can't, right between his thighs, and just fucking pops his head.
Yeah, dude. Maybe he's got them watermelon thighs. Like, he could be super, super buff down below.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. Also, it should be noted that apparently Oscar the Grouch has some sort of extra dimensional ability, because he's got like 85 layers of home inside this trash can. And that trash can's like a foot tall. So like, he's got a TARDIS trash can, bro. You think Elmo and his dumbass, like, he's losing his fluff? He's got that stupid ass fish, and all he does is color all day? Like, you think that he's gonna stand against Oscar? That bro lives on the streets. You don't know what he has to do to survive, okay?
It's true.
Oscar's over here like sucking dick in bathrooms so he can have something to eat tonight. He's the glory hole king. You think fucking Elmo's gonna do shit against Oscar? Nah, bro. Stupid question, Phil. Can't believe you'd come at us with
that. That got weird so quick.
Of course it did. So, Phil also asks, what's the most money you would spend on an indie game, just the game, not counting physical rewards?
I love this question.
This isn't a physical edition or anything. How much would you spend on an indie game? And I think this stems from like Chris Tales being $40. And we often talk about how like Kickstarters, there is a hard cap on how much we'll spend. So I guess the first thing I want to ask is, I mean, this is outside of this question, but I just want to get a bit of background. How much would you spend on a Kickstarter? Like, how much would you spend on a crowdfunding campaign?
It's so...
Not including physical rewards. What would you say your cap is?
This is such a hard question. I love the question, but this is such a hard question because it really depends on the game. Like, if this is an indie... Like, because I don't care if you're... This is going to be a weird sentence. I don't care if you're an indie developer or you're a AAA studio. It's all about like, what game are you creating for me? And if it's a game that fits my interest, you're like, oh, it's this very RPG, this psychological horror, this choices matter, this card. Actually, you know what's funny is like, I feel like I'm starting to get, I just downloaded that library of Runa or whatever it's called. And I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like very just exhausted.
You're done with cards, dude?
I'm getting kind of exhausted. Like, there's just too much because it's,
maybe you just haven't gone hard enough into cards. Maybe this is the time to invest in a deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know what I mean?
Get the fuck out of here. How about,
like, you need to get into the TCG, bro.
I had a Yu-Gi-Oh deck back in the day. Never again.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it Elemental Heroes? Big fan.
I don't fucking know what the hell I did. I had some cards.
Maybe it was a Toon deck. Maybe you're a Pegasus fan.
Kaiba
and you're
boy.
like, I like the Dark Magician girl as a toon. She's thicker there.
She had some nice attributes. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I think that I would not pay more than $60 for a game, no matter if it's a AAA, no matter if it's an indie. Maybe that's changing based on this like $70, like the new price point. I'm frugal. Like I talk about it all the time about how we need to not be, but like people are people, and I'm really frugal when it comes to that kind of thing. I, in a lot of cases, will not buy a game right when it launches. When it comes from a AAA side, because I'm just like, I don't want to spend all that money. So I think like 60 is really a cap for me, but it also depends. Cause if they were like, oh, it's actually like, you know what? Double Fine is now an indie game studio again, and they're making Psychonauts 3 and it's $100. I'd be like, all right, well, maybe I'll think about it. Like, I don't know, because it just depends on the game, right? Like, I don't think I like the question because I think it's an interesting point where a lot of people would be like, I wouldn't spend more than $20 on an indie, because that's usually where that cutoff point kind of hits, where they're like, if it's indie, it's got to be cheap. And like, I don't think that applies anymore. Like, because you have indies who are creating just fucking crazy good games, whether it's from a visual perspective or whether it's from design or whether it's from just a creative like hook to it. Like there are games out there that are just really good, and it shouldn't matter like the length or the, you know, the studio that's creating it, because you have people who are making like they're part of Xbox now, but the team that made the Senua's Sacrifice, like that's nuts. Yeah. How good that looked from
Ninja
an indie
Theory?
Yeah, Ninja Theory. That's nuts how good that looked from an indie perspective. Like, I don't remember how much that was when it first launched though. But like, I don't know. I think it's tough. Also for me, just because I'm frugal as fuck. Like that's just how I am. But yeah, I think it just doesn't really matter. It just depends on the game. Like if it's a good game, I'll pay money for it.
There's a small part of me that believes that people won't pay more than $20 for pixel art. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think art style has a lot to do with the game. And I think if a game has pixel art, a large majority of the community will not pay more than $20. Because, like, Chris Tale, I feel like it's actually very possible that people will pay $40 for it. But it does have this, like, kind of interesting hand-drawn art style to it. And this is not me saying that I won't pay more than $20 for pixel art. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to it, I feel like the gaming community as a whole won't.
Yeah.
I just don't believe they will.
I think you're kind of right with that, because I think there's like the whole reason why people had that $20 or that price point that they're usually like, oh, I wouldn't spend more for indies, is because, you know, there is this stereotype of putting indies into this category of like, they're all pixel platformers.
Yeah,
because that's kind of like what they were when a lot of them first started, because that was the easiest to make and that was the most accessible from a mechanic of actually building something out. It was either that or like the RPGs that you would have from like an RPG maker.
Yeah, and I feel like when you start to get into higher price points, you almost like I don't believe that you should have to, but with things the way they are now and a lot of people's money is pretty tight, I feel like you almost have to justify your price point with something. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is with art style and with the way your game looks, because it's often something that people talk about. They're like, oh, this game looks so realistic. They love Red Dead because it's like they really try hard to make the game looks as real as possible. So I feel like art style has a lot to do with how much somebody will be willing to pay for something. So when it comes to pixel art, I feel like a lot of people, it could be the greatest game ever, and I do not think that people would pay more than $20
for sure
it, just because it's pixel art for some reason.
But it goes into the same like argument of why I think it's just if the game is good or if the game appeals to me, because like, you have that $60 game from Red Dead and people are like, oh, it's so good, I love looking at it, and I look at it.
Yeah, but you won't pay $60 for that.
And I will never, because I look at that game and I'm like, this looks fucking boring. Like I am not into that at all. Like I'm just like, no, thank you. Looks great, cool. Like it's like looking at Death Stranding for me. I'm like, I don't want to work for Amazon, so I'm not going to buy Death Stranding. I don't care how nice it looks or how much of a community builder it is. I don't need to work for FedEx. I don't need to take one package from one area and put it to a next. Like, no, thank you. It's not worth the $60. I'd much rather pay $60 for like a small indie game, or whatever it might be, because I'm like, I'm gonna have more fun or enjoy this experience more. I don't care how good it looks. But there is that stereotype that a lot of people have where they're like, because it looks prettier, it must be worth more. Yeah,
definitely. For me, the most money that I would spend on an indie game, like just the base game, would be $70 now. That is the standard. But like you, it absolutely depends on the game. Like it would depend on if it had fanfare before. Like if it's Hollow Knight Silksong, they say it's $70. I'm paying fucking $70, bro. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm playing that game at this point. But it does largely depend on it. I'm completely willing to shell out money. There really is no price cap for me when it comes to an indie game. But like you, it absolutely depends on the game. Like it's
for sure.
This really sucks, but if it's a title that does not have a proven track record,
I mean, yeah,
I'm not going to spend like $70 on it. It's just not what I'm going to do. And that sucks because I'm willing to do that with a AAA game. Like that's the divide that's in people's heads a lot of the time. And it's something I feel like a lot of us, including us, need to get over, is that like, fucking Ghost of Tsushima, I'm completely willing to pay $60-$70 for it because it's a first party title, and I don't know why I'm like completely willing to do that. But if it's a new IP from an indie developer, I'm like, nah, it'll have to be the sequel to a game that I love. Like it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But there's also that like quality control aspect to being a AAA where it's just like, Sony almost refuses to let you make a game that is not in line with their core values, and I know what that is.
Right.
So that is like can be a large detriment, but it also can really help out stuff. So it's like I know that if I buy a Sony first party title, that it is going to be, as long as I enjoy the titles that they put out, like third person, like narrative driven games, as long as you like those, willing to spend $60-$70 on them.
I mean, I don't think that's wrong to say though, and I don't think that should change. Like, this isn't a knock at indie games. This is a knock at having someone that's a trusted developer, because just to the same point, like you said, if Team Cherry came out with the next Hollow Knight and they were like, it's $70, you'd pay for it because you know them. It doesn't matter that they're indie, right? Like,
I guess that's a good point. Yeah, if Team Cherry came out with something that wasn't Hollow Knight for $70, like if they were just like, it's a new IP, that's a great point. I actually think that I would spend $70.
It's the fact that they are a trusted brand, and it's harder to have that in a field where when indie games are so widely dispersed, and a lot of the times this is the first time this studio has made a game. And so it's like, it's harder to trust this field unless you give more time to wait for reviews, or, you know, you get to experience it from a video perspective and like see it and then experience it. Like, it's just not as easy to dive face first into something without having a known track record. It has nothing to do with it being indie. It's just more of like, we haven't seen how your games are and what your studio can produce.
It's a great point. I actually had never thought about that, since like a lot of the indie games market is like an enthusiast market to start out with.
Yeah.
You kind of do need that first title to be ingratiated in what this studio enjoys to make and what caliber of a game they make. And then once they release that second title, if you like the first one at $20, I would be completely willing to pay $70 for the next one. Like it really just depends on it. Like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that it doesn't matter if they're indie. They just need to have this proven track record of games that you might enjoy.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like we pretty much beat this horse to death. You know what I mean? If that's
Red
the
Dead.
saying, so whatever.
Fuck them horses.
We're gonna move on to Captain Bang. Writes in and says, "Not a question. It is almost the end of summer, and I look forward to the potential of streams." Thank you, Captain Bang. I'm excited to possibly do some streams. It's very possible that I might be just streaming New World. I'm just saying, bro. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, if I get into this fucking game, I'm probably not going to be making time for anything other than indies outside of this. So.
I think it's so funny that all of your streaming has nothing to do with indie games.
So I actually talked about this in my stream, is that I don't want to, and that sounds weird, is like I don't want to be known for just being into indie games. Like I love indie games and I want indie games to be recognized and everybody to like I guess I want me to be a voice in the indie games part of the industry, but I don't want it to be the only thing.
That's not your identity.
Yeah, I don't want it to be the only part of my identity. So instead I was like, yeah, play some fucking Souls-like games. Like I enjoy them. Why not? Yeah, I did that deliberately, is because I didn't want to just be known for indies.
Right.
Plus, like, I don't know. I have this steep fall off with a lot of indie games where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to play this right now. So whereas like a Souls-like game, for some reason, I'm just like, fucking let's go, dude. I'm going to die 1,000 times to the next boss. So I'm looking forward to the potential of streams as well, especially since I got my key lights in, I got my dope lights back there. I'm excited to see what I can make my streams look like. And lastly, Get Indie Gaming, or no, actually,
one more.
Captain Bang also writes in and says, what are your thoughts on the new hard Mountain Dew and why is it the best drink ever? Big Josh Boy, what are your thoughts on this new hard Mountain Dew? Because you are the little drinker. You're the drinker of the podcast. Drinker. You like the beers and the such.
I don't like a lot of mixed drinks though, especially when it comes to these styles. So okay. I don't think I also don't really drink a lot of sodas. Do they have a Baja Blast hard version?
So because
if they do, then I might be into it.
I gotta look this up because I saw it on let's look it up. Mountain Dew hard drinks.
Research real time.
I know, dude. Yeah, you gotta get into it. So I believe they have 3 different flavors currently.
Yeah.
They have what the fuck? Okay, one just seems to be Mountain Dew. It's just green.
Just green.
Yeah, the other ones actually have specific, like this one's black cherry, this one's watermelon, and this one's just
green.
Green.
Oh, I love me some just green. That's my favorite. No, I probably wouldn't be into these.
My favorite flavor of Mountain Dew is green.
Is green. Yeah. I probably wouldn't be into these. I think it's cool. Like if someone had it, I'd try it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to buy these. I'm more of either a beer drinker or I'll just do like gin and tonics. I just recently started getting into just drinking whiskey. So like I don't really want just a Mountain Dew seltzery thing. I feel like it'll make me sick.
I love Mountain Dew. It's like my favorite soda, so I'm pretty stoked for these. I'm very interested. Granted, I could probably have made them before by just mixing Mountain Dew with vodka or something. But
it's not the same.
I would assume so. I would assume it's not the same. So I'm hoping these will be better. That's why I posted like Mountain Dew. These hard Mountain Dew might be my ticket to alcoholism, you know?
Here we go. I can't wait.
Imagine going, like, you and I, finally we meet up. We're like, let's go do an adult thing. We'll go to a steak house. We'll get, like, you'll get a steak. I'll get chicken strips. You'll get a whiskey. I'll be like, do you have the Mountain Dew hard drinks?
You are the biggest child I know.
And I would love for them to be like, would you like the watermelon, the black cherry,
or the green? Just like, green for me. I'm on a diet.
Yeah. These, you know what? I believe the green will pair best with my chicken strips. Thank you very much, kind sir.
That's so good. You're a fucking child. I love it.
Dude, if bars carry these, that would be sweet. Because I don't go to bars because I feel... Actually, that's not true.
I mean, no, they might.
Daiquiris are delicious.
Yeah, they might, though. Because that's, like... Bars and other places are... It's starting to become a new trend. Like, especially with, like, the Truly and all that stuff. Or White Claw, like a lot of places will have them because they know certain people just they won't drink other like just beer
white people.
Or yeah, well, you know.
And you say certain people? Did you say white people?
Certain people, man.
We're bitches.
Sure, why not? You know, I was thinking about you the other day because of that whole like the chicken tenders story of going to a steakhouse and ordering chicken tenders. Because I drove past a Red Lobster the other day and my wife was like, oh yeah, those cheddar biscuits or whatever they make. And I was like, yeah, those things are good. But neither of us are really seafood people. So like I remember going there as a kid and being like, I want the fettuccine Alfredo. And it's like, or getting like chicken in it. And I just always remember people being like, the fuck, it's seafood. What are you getting chicken for? And just like immediately I thought of you and just how much embarrassment your family had for you doing that. And I was like, I guess there were people thinking about that for me too.
You know
So you're not
what's
alone.
so legitimately so funny is that Mark, my father-in-law, he is the one who was embarrassed that I got chicken strips at a steak joint. And he is also the one who has been embarrassed that we have gone to Red Lobster and I also got chicken strips.
Oh my God. Yeah, see?
And he was like, do you eat anything other than chicken strips, bro? Come on.
Has he gone to a place that's like a chicken, like that's like their main specialty with you?
No,
you should go and order something that is totally not chicken strips.
That.
You gotta find it just to piss him off even more. Just be like, go there and be like, can I get do you have steak here?
Can I get the sushi?
Can I get sushi? You guys have sushi at a chicken place.
I don't fuck with seafood, so yeah, maybe I'd be like, can I have a nice porterhouse? Maybe a little prime rib.
Yeah,
and he'd be like, he leans to me and he's like, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
He literally just pulls up he just fucking stabs me with his fork. He's like, I'm done with you, bro. Like, God. Oh my God. Yeah. I do sometimes wonder. If they'll ever just be like, you're no longer part of this family. Like they disown Morgan. They're just like, no, you brought him into this family. Like we're sick of you.
You're done.
We're done. So I'm pretty stoked about the Mountain Dew hard flavors. I hope they're good. Cause typically when anybody tries to make like I would say like a soda, like a hard soda, it always just tastes like, oh, this is Mountain Dew with way too much vodka. Like you just taste the alcohol and I'm like, I'm not in it for that, bro. I just want a Mountain Dew, you know?
I just want the green.
Indie Gaming writes in and I just want my green, dude. I want that green drink. So Get Indie Gaming writes in. This is when you know we're big, okay, in the indie industry. Then Get Indie Gaming writes into your fucking podcast. I was weirdly excited about this. I'm telling you. They followed me on Twitter. My pants got tight. Like I was into that, okay? Yeah. You hit it big.
This is when they hear this episode and then unfollow you.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% sure. Even I'm assuming I'm gonna get blocked after this. They're gonna be like,
never again.
No, thank you. We're good.
Never again.
So Get Indie Gaming writes in and says, hi there. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the ID at Xbox and Switch indie event from earlier in the week. Cheers and all the best. We've pretty much heavily covered this, but any last little bits you want to talk about at the end of this episode with the Nindy, or it's not even Nindy, it's Indie World Showcase.
No more Nindies.
And I keep wanting to say Nindy because I like that more. I gotta be honest, the Indie World thing is like, I would rather just have Nindy. I gotta be real. It just sounds cooler for some reason. I just like it. I think it's because Nindy is so much easier to say.
Yeah.
It's like less than Indie World.
I don't know.
I'm just lazy.
I'm very interested in why they didn't just go full steam on that, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about it. This is a long episode, like way too long. We got a couple.
I love so much
because every time
our standard episode is 2 hours, and every time you go, that was a long one. Because after you do like over 100 hours or 100 episodes, you can no longer say something's long when that is just what you do.
It doesn't matter that it's our average; it's still long. It's too long. We've talked about this before, after like not on the podcast, but like. There's got to be something we got to start doing to like cut shit down, because it's after the 2 hours, I'm always like, I have to pee so bad right now. Anyway, that has nothing to do with indie games. I think we talked a lot about the showcases. I think my biggest thing is I want more clarity around when things are happening and why they're happening, or not why they're happening, but what is happening, to make it easier for someone who might not be as in tuned to find what they want and to promote that in different like segments. And I want the Indie World Showcase to show the faces of those two people so that I don't get annoyed by them as much as I do right now, because
and I feel like I honestly feel like it would really help, because it's very much like the wholesome directs. Like they are pretty much helmed by Jenny. And I think that's really good idea to have this recognizable personality that is associated with these showcases instead of disembodied voices that nobody knows who the fuck they are.
Yeah, I would love for them to show them off, like to give it a little bit more personality as opposed to just these two like very overhyped, cheesy voices that just show up and make dumb puns.
Yeah,
they could still make the dumb puns, but I want to see who's making them.
The biggest things for me, I mean, I don't typically watch the showcases. I try to just tune in with the highlights. But for someone who does that, I will say that I would like to have like some sort of requirement when it comes to these trailers that they actually have the news of whatever it is in the trailer. Because I feel like a lot of people are not actually catching this as it goes live. A lot of people aren't watching the full Indie World Showcase. They're just finding a trailer on YouTube. And I really feel like it would help get the word out about these indies if somebody didn't go to, like, it didn't find this Axiom Verge trailer on YouTube and just see nothing. Like there's no release date or anything. And then they have to look up, like, when does Axiom Verge 2 come out? Instead, if it was just like out now, I imagine people would be like, sweet, I'm gonna fucking buy this game. Like, I just, it sounds bad, but I really do not trust people to do that little bit of extra effort of finding out when something releases. Instead, if you just easily make it right there at the end of it, there's that outro that's just like, coming to Nintendo Switch and PC today or available now. Yeah, I really feel like games would probably sell a little bit better. But that's really just me. Yeah. I would also like a showcase to not take place in the middle of a workday. That would be really cool. Yeah. Every time they do it, they're like, it's a weekday instead of a weekend, and it's at noon. And I'm like, how do you expect me to fucking tune in for this shit? Like, how does anybody tune in for this shit? Fucking put it at like 6 p.m. or whatever. Come on. Like, put it at night. Everyone can watch that shit. Granted, like, it'd probably be harder for the games industry folks, but like, come on. I can never fucking watch these unless I take a day off work. It's annoying. So, there you go.
I agree.
That's our thoughts on the ID at Xbox and Switch Indie World Showcase. Also, announce it more than a day in advance. That'd be cool as well. I would very much appreciate that. But that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, you can hit us up at IndiePod over on Twitter. Please follow us there, as we have now hit over 700 peeps. Feel pretty cool about that. Feel cool. We get into gaming, getting that follow, and we get the 700 peeps, dude.
We're fucking good. Dude, we're so popular.
I'm feeling good.
So popular.
My ego is too big at this point. Okay. I mean,
and then you look at how many people Get Into Gaming has on their Twitter, and you're like, ugh.
Nah, I just avoid that when I look. Yeah, I just avoid it.
Maybe
just
one
like
day.
The plague,
maybe one day people will be
interested. One day we'll hit it at 1,000, maybe 2,000. You know,
I mean,
cross our fingers.
Maybe 3 more years.
I feel like giving us 3 more years will probably be 980. You know what I mean? You can follow me, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion over on Twitter, and you can follow Josh at _George90. For our Twitch streams, you can check out mine. If I will probably end up doing them, some New World stuff when it comes out in September at twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. You could check out Josh's when and if he decides to do some more Twitch streams at twitch.tv/the _George. So you can check those out. Correct. That is the end of this episode. I got to go through my housekeeping one more time. Please check out the Christian Hauser. I'm just going to go with Hoser, whatever. I'm sorry. I messed up your name. It's just because I'm an idiot. It has nothing to do with your awesome name. Of Crafting Legends, the developer interview, they are talking about their game Death Trash. That one goes live on Wednesday, the 18th of August. Check it out. That one's bound to be a very interesting interview. I'm excited for it. Check out the Teespring store for IndiePod. Once again, just over on Teespring. You can get those cool shirts. You can get some stickers. Eventually some other stuff when I get off my ass. Now I've got extra time. I'll do it. I'll make some new shit.
This could be it.
Yeah, Whew. Make them hoodies, dude. Whew. If Teespring was just easier and they weren't just like, this is a limited thing, you gotta pay us first, and like there's also, you can't put text on an arm, and I'm like, why, dude? I just want to do it, you know? Check out our YouTube where you can watch these episodes and check out our clips. I feel like they're fun and I enjoyed editing them. Leave us reviews on any site in which you could do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a bunch, helps us get in that algorithm so we can spread the word of amazing indie games. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of money, you are absolutely amazing. But we got to thank all the $3 tiers and higher. So, Ethan, a gamer for fun. John.
Just John.
Just John. Will C, Mixamatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Rich, the Wombat Up of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, just Josh, and Sam Filian from Canada. Thank you all so much. You are all so amazing. And we will talk to you next week. Goodbye. It's like you forgot for a second. You're just like, oh shit.